Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This video is going to be difficult to make. As I'm sure you can tell by the title, I'm going to be telling you guys my story of my chemical pregnancy, which is basically the medical term for a very early miscarriage. This is my story and my story alone. I am very deeply saddened by this, and I really don't even have anything prepared to talk about today. So I just decided to sit down and share my story. I don't post this to get sympathy from it, although prayers and positive thoughts and well wishes are always so very much appreciated. I do share this, however, to spread awareness on chemical pregnancies, because I do think that it's something that not a lot of people are very familiar with, and also to just share my story to remind other parents that may be going through this same thing, that you are not alone. Your feelings are completely 100% valid, and there's always someone else in this with you. So like I said, I don't really have anything prepared, so I'm just gonna kind of jump right into it. I always have dreamt of becoming a mom. I cannot wait until I'm able to raise my kids and be the mom that I've always dreamt to be. And so when I thought about making family style videos on YouTube, it always was a very positive and cheerful thing, and something that gave me a lot of hope and joy. So I never thought or expected that my first video talking about kids would be about the loss of my first child. So a few months ago, I began tracking my cycle. I've always been kind of irregular, and so I decided to just get a little bit more familiar with my cycle and kind of know what days were coming up and all of that kind of stuff. I use Flow as my tracking app, and I really like it. I highly recommend it. There are a lot of anonymous discussion boards, and they have some really great articles and videos giving tips and all of this kind of thing on how to track your cycle and to get whatever benefits out of it that you're looking for. So no matter what that is, whether it's just to like really know when you should be expecting your period to start, or if you're trying to track it for pregnancy purposes, or if you're already pregnant and you're trying to track different things in that way, it's a really great tool and I really enjoy using it. So I began using that to track my cycle, and like I said, I just kind of wanted to become a little bit more familiar with it. So I tracked my one cycle, and it said that I should be due for my period in like 5 days. I got some early detection tests and I decided to take them. I really wasn't expecting anything out of it, to be completely honest with you. Like I said, I had just started tracking it, and I was like, you know what, let me get some early detection tests and just kind of see what happens. And lo and behold, it came up as pregnant. So I took another early detection test and 2 regular, just like cheap strip tests, just to see what happened. And the 2 strip tests came up with faint lines, and the 2 early detection tests, which were both digital, both came up saying yes and pregnant. So after taking all 4 of these tests, I was like, okay, I am actually pregnant. And that was how it was confirmed for me. And I took another one the next day even, and I was just like, yeah, they all came back positive. I was like, yep, definitely pregnant. So I did break out my vlogging camera that morning before I even took the tests, because I just felt a little off. I was having symptoms. I was feeling very nauseous. I was having extremely vivid dreams, and I was just having some other symptoms that kind of seemed like it would be correlated with a possible pregnancy. So I did start vlogging that day, and I got my reaction on tape to finding out that I was pregnant. You guys. Oh my God. I am like actually shaking. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. It actually says yes. Yep. Okay. It says pregnant. Oh my gosh. I just cannot believe this. It literally says pregnant. Oh my God, you guys. This just does not seem real. Oh my gosh. It says pregnant. I was just so absolutely excited and I could not wait to share the news with everyone. I was hesitant at first to share the news with my husband that day because I knew that it was so early on, but then I decided that if something did happen, like what did end up happening, I would of course want him to be by my side throughout all of it and not in the dark, and then I would have to go through this heartbreak alone and share the news with him then. I'd rather him just be on this journey with me together, because at the end of the day, we were both the parents of this little baby, and so I wanted to be able to share this with him. So I went out and I got a cute little onesie and some little booties, and I put them in a box with the tests. And when he came home from work that day, I had him open it and he was so excited. And of course, I did capture that on film as well. I'm happy that I did, because it just reminds me of how excited we are to be parents. After that, for the next couple of days, we just began talking about when we were going to tell our parents and our immediate families, how we were going to tell them. I started watching so many TikToks and YouTube videos of telling my family I'm pregnant, telling my parents I'm pregnant, all of that kind of thing, just to get ideas and just seeing how happy the people's families were when they would share the news with them. It was just getting me so excited, and I just could not wait to be able to tell my mom and all of my really close family and friends, and you know, Chandler's parents and his siblings. I was just so excited to be able to share the news. So we started talking about all of that, and we started talking about what our future was gonna look like. Right now we live in Orlando and we are from New Jersey, so we kind of started like brainstorming what our future was gonna look like and all of these different things. We started just looking at what our life was gonna look like, and we were so excited. And you know, of course, with that came a little bit of nervousness because it was this brand new journey, but it was all just such good, positive nerves. We could not wait. We were so excited, and it just felt like a dream come true for us. A few days later, I was at work and my stomach started cramping a little bit, and I just felt like something was off. So I asked to go to the bathroom, and when I went to the bathroom, I noticed bleeding. And so I immediately started freaking out, and I called Chandler and told him, and I was like, I think that we lost the baby. He was, of course, like very, very upset, but he was trying so hard to stay optimistic about it and just thinking maybe it was implantation bleeding, or maybe it was just kind of a fluke and it wasn't a miscarriage. But something in me just told me, like, no, this is not good. So when I got back to our apartment, I called my OBGYN and I spoke to one of the nurses there, and they told me I could go get blood work done to see if my HCG levels were dropping, and if not, I could just kind of keep an eye on it, and as long as my symptoms didn't get super severe, like very intense bleeding or very heavy cramping or anything like that, then I would be okay to just kind of wait it out and see what happens. So implantation bleeding is usually very light. It's typically just some spotting, and it's not very like bright red or anything, but what I experienced was kind of the opposite of all of that. Thankfully, like I said, I didn't have super severe symptoms where it was very heavy or anything, but it definitely wasn't how implantation bleeding is described. So I decided not to get the blood work done. I just decided to kind of wait it out, and Chandler left work early that day and just came to be with me, and we just kind of sat there and cried and prayed. And like I said, I kind of knew that it wasn't good news, and Chandler was just still trying so hard to be just so incredibly optimistic, and I was so thankful for that because he was really just being so positive about it, and he just kept reminding me that no matter what happened, we were in this together. He just said, you know, let me pray for us, and we just sat there together, and he just prayed over us, and it was just such a beautiful thing. And just finding God together in that moment and being able to pray together and having my husband pray over us and our child was really, really special. It's something that I am very grateful for, this unifying moment of my husband and I being able to come together in this way. But as the realization was setting in, it was just absolutely devastating. So that was on a Friday, and it was right around the time that I was due for my period. So it all happened very quickly, like I said. And on that Monday, I ended up calling the OBGYN again to let them know I ended up not getting the blood work done. And I actually had the chance to speak to my doctor and explained everything to her. And I ended up that morning actually taking another pregnancy test, and it was just another one of the cheap like strip ones, but there was no line on it at all. And I knew that it was real. I was not pregnant. And I took another test just to be sure, and that one also came up with no line. So in just a matter of days, I was no longer pregnant anymore. And after already planning our whole life around this, I couldn't believe that like so quickly we had gone through these emotions. And so when I talked to my OBGYN, I told her everything. I told her how I ended up taking the tests that morning and that they came back negative. And she did confirm that it sounded like what I had was a chemical pregnancy. And again, a chemical pregnancy is just a medical term for a very early on miscarriage. So it typically happens before like the 5-week mark. I was right around 4 weeks when all of this occurred. It was really hard once the reality set in that this was actually what happened. She did tell me that since chemical pregnancies do happen very early on, they are extremely common and a lot of women may never even know that they experienced one. They do typically occur right around the time of a woman's period. And so if a woman doesn't take an early detection test or decide to take a test on the day their period is late and get that positive pregnancy test, they may never even know that they had one because it just happens so early on, and it's just something that people may not even catch. And you know, because of that, there was a part of me that just wished that I had waited to take the test, that I had never taken the early detection tests and waited until I was a week or so late just to be sure. And again, not that that means I would have been safe, but I probably would have never even known that I had a chemical pregnancy, because once the bleeding started, I probably would have just assumed that it was my period. Like I said, thankfully I didn't have super intense symptoms or anything. My cramping and bleeding was a little bit heavier than my typical menstrual cycle, but I probably would have just assumed that it was a heavier than normal period, and I may have never even thought anything of it. So there was a part of me that wished that I never even had taken that test and gotten that positive pregnancy test result back. But the more that I've sat on this, and this is a few weeks ago now, I didn't know when I was going to be ready to share this. As I've sat on this a little bit more and the more I've thought about it, I am very grateful that I took the test. And though I never got to love my baby the way I hoped I would earthside, this precious little baby was already so loved and still is so loved. We started lovingly calling the baby Billy, and I don't know why, but we just did. And so I am confident that baby Billy is safe in God's arms now, and I can't believe that I have an angel baby. The emotions aren't as raw and fresh now as they were, but there's still just a piece of me that can't even wrap my head around the fact that this happened. My heart is broken over this, but I am just doing my absolute best to stay positive. And the fact that I have the most amazing and loving husband and support system by my side just makes the journey a little bit easier. And it's not easy, but it lifts the load a little bit, just knowing that I have the most incredible people by my side. We did share the news with our parents and just some other very close loved ones before we decided to speak about it on a public forum in a public way for the world to see and know. That was due in part to just kind of wanting some of that healing and not wanting to go through it alone, but also not needing or wanting everyone to know, because it just didn't seem necessary right off the bat. But I did know that once I kind of settled into this reality, I would want to speak of it in a public way because I did want to share my story. And like I said, I did want to spread awareness on chemical pregnancies and very early miscarriages because again, they're very common, but since they happen so early, a lot of women may not even know that they experienced it. And so they may be confused about these different things. And I just want to spread awareness on it and let you know that if you're going through this, you are not alone in this. And people may say things like, well, at least you weren't 3 months in, or you should be grateful that it happened so early on. And while I understand the sentiment, it doesn't make the loss any easier because at the end of the day, this was my child and my husband's child, and we had already grown to love this baby so, so much. And we will never forget our first baby or my first pregnancy. And though it was very short-lived, it was still our experience, and this is now my story to share with you all to spread some light on this because I think that it can be very oftentimes looked at as a very taboo topic or a subject that a lot of people may not feel comfortable talking about. And it's something that I even struggled with of sharing. And like I said, I knew I wanted to so that I could spread awareness and remind people that we're in this together. But it was also something that I struggled with how I was going to go about talking about it. And it's just been really hard, but I knew that it was something that I needed to do. So thank you all so very much for watching this. I hope again that this spreads some light on early miscarriages or chemical pregnancies, and also again that you are reminded that your feelings are so valid during this and that we are in this together. I'm here for you, and there are so many people out there and so many resources that are there for you, and I just hope that you know that and that this video helped you be reminded of that. So thank you all again so very much for watching. I am praying for anyone that's going through a struggle like this, and just anyone that's trying to conceive, or any moms out there. I'm praying for all of you, and I wish you all a very beautiful and blessed day. Bye.